This seems like a good time to start. I know I am just a voice right now. I'm going to go through some slides and then I will shift over and we can answer some questions face to face. But thank you so much for taking some time for me today. My name is Todd Oberndorfer, and I'm the Visual Arts Program Manager for the Salt Lake City Arts Council. Before I start, I want to make sure, even if I just see one hand come up, do you see a slide that says 2027 Finch Lane Gallery? That's a yes? Okay, perfect. We are starting in the same place. Today's session is focused on the 2027 Finch Lane Gallery exhibition's call for entries. We will be going through the exhibition program. We're going to review the application guidelines. We'll walk through the application itself, section by section. We can kind of slow things down later and get a little bit more specific. I'll also share some advice and recommendations for applicants. Then we're going to leave some time at the end for questions and answers. And then this can continue after that. I'm going to make sure that you have my information. You can reach out at any time. This session is being recorded, and that's where a bulk of the people watch this. So this will end up on our YouTube, and I will put a link on our website for that once this gets switched over. Please feel free to place questions in the chat if you'd like to. I'll take a look at those later. If not, there's only a handful of us, and so let's just make ourselves comfortable. Before we focus specifically, oh, is everyone muted? I think so, yeah. Before we focus specifically on Finch Lane Gallery, I wanted to briefly introduce the Salt Lake City Arts Council. If you are familiar, the visual arts program, and we'll talk about that in a minute, that's a particular program. The Arts Council supports a wide variety of arts programming throughout Salt Lake City. Our programs include public art, performing arts, literary arts, community events and festivals, grants and artist support programs, and visual arts programming. Finch Lane Gallery is part of the Arts Council's visual arts program. Through Finch Lane Gallery, we present rotating contemporary exhibitions throughout the year, so we do year-round programming. The gallery provides opportunities for Utah artists, curators, and collaborative groups to share work with the public. Today's presentation is specifically focused on the 2027 Finch Lane Gallery exhibition's call for entries. From here, I'll transition more directly into Finch Lane Gallery and the program itself. Finch Lane Gallery is located at the historic Art Barn in Reservoir Park. Let's do another quick little hands or thumbs up if you've been to Finch Lane Gallery. Has everyone been to the gallery? I see mostly thumbs, and if you haven't, I'm going to make sure that you swing by. Thank you for sharing that. The gallery presents 6, in this case for 2027, exhibitions sessions annually. Exhibitions are presented across 2 gallery spaces. I like to refer to them as our East Gallery, which is a little bit bigger than our West Gallery. The program supports a wide range of contemporary visual arts practices. We encourage applications from both emerging and established artists, and that's key. And anytime you chat with me, I will always say that that's probably one of my favorite things, is to find a little bit of both. We also welcome collaborative projects, group exhibitions, curatorial proposals, and interdisciplinary work. The goal of the exhibition program is to support Utah artists and foster meaningful public engagement through visual arts. Finch Lane Gallery is intended to provide opportunities for Utah artists to exhibit current work. The program is also designed to support curatorial development and experimentation. We want to present a wide range of artistic perspectives and approaches. There's not just one preferred medium or style. The committee reviews a broad range of applications, so just know whatever your medium is. We give just as much time to photographers as 2D as ceramic artists. I'm a printmaker myself, so I do try to hit upon all of the mediums. Strong applications are usually clear, cohesive, visually compelling, and thoughtfully organized. We encourage applicants to focus on communicating their ideas clearly and effectively. And hopefully, I'm going to go a little bit more into that. Selected exhibitions will take place throughout the 2027 calendar year. Exhibition pairings and schedulings are coordinated after the selections are finalized. And so I do know when, if any of you have started the application process, you'll notice that there is a place where you're going to choose dates that can work for you in your life, and just know that um, those decisions as far as choosing the dates doesn't happen until after the selection process. The staff works closely with the artist throughout the scheduling and the installation process. Artists are notified well in advance regarding exhibition dates and logistics. And so all the decisions we make now will be for starting February of 2027. I want to give the artists as much time as possible to prepare their work. The schedule is carefully coordinated across both gallery spaces, and we try to create a balanced and engaging exhibition calendar throughout the year. All right, next slide. We also want to briefly mention a planned capital improvement project at the Art Barn. This is something we're excited about, but it is going to affect the first several weeks, probably most of January of 2027. And so I want to be open about that. These improvements are focused on accessibility, long-term building improvements, and visitor experience. Construction is currently anticipated between late December, so the last couple of weeks of this year in December, and early February 2027. Our exhibition schedule is already being planned around this timeline. We anticipate exhibitions resuming immediately afterwards, but I wanted to mention this now for transparency and long-range planning purposes. Because as you know, if anybody has had work done in your house, sometimes those dates are a little bit fluid, but I feel pretty good about what we have set aside. All right, so application process is now on. It opened on May 18th. The application deadline is Sunday, June 21st at 11:59 p.m. You will notice that that is a Sunday, and so that means the last time that you can reach out to me. I want to give you that last weekend. I know I apply for shows and I need every minute that I have, but it also means if you need to speak with a human, in that case, this is me, then you're going to want to do that on the Friday before. Applications submitted after the deadline cannot be accepted. After the deadline, applications move into committee review. The review process takes place through, we're planning late June into July. Applicants can expect notification during the week of, right now I'm looking at August. I want to give the artists, like I said, as much time as possible to get working for 2027. I strongly encourage applicants to submit as early as possible. It's something to sort of check off, but I will be realistic that a bulk of our applications do come towards the end, and I'm perfectly fine with that, but just make sure that you give yourself a little bit extra time. Submitting early gives the applicants time to review the materials, to troubleshoot uploads, to fix formatting issues, and to avoid deadline stress. Sometimes that stress turns into that little extra energy that you need. So I'll be honest about that. Waiting until the final day can sometimes create unnecessary stress or technical issues. All right. To be eligible, applicants must currently reside in Utah. And that is basically the requirement that you have right there. We welcome applications from individual artists, solo shows, curators, and often that could be a group show that the curator takes part in. Sometimes it's essentially curating a show that you are not involved in yourself. Collaborative groups and artist-led projects. Students are welcome to apply. So like I said, all ages and levels. Emerging artists are encouraged as well. And there is no fee to apply for Finch Lane Gallery. So that means it is an excellent opportunity to apply for a brand new show. All right, we welcome a broad range of contemporary visual arts practices. Applications may include, I know I've mentioned these, but this is going to be the questions we have later. Solo exhibitions, collaborative exhibitions, curatorial projects, installation work, media work, interdisciplinary approaches. Proposed work is absolutely acceptable. Work does not need to be fully completed at the time of application. That's sometimes one of the questions we have. There's a very good chance that your proposal is work that has not been started yet. And so that's something that I'm definitely aware of. The committee mainly needs enough information to understand the concept. the artistic direction, the visual quality, and the feasibility of the exhibition. And I think feasibility is probably the key word there, is can you pull it off in the time frame that you're given? All right, the committee also considers how projects function within the gallery environment. This includes the scale. And if you've been to the space, you have a general idea. I'm also happy to provide floor plans if you'd like. Do know that the gallery is open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. Tuesday nights, we stay open until 8:30 p.m. You are always welcome to swing by, check out this space in person. You can take some photos if you like. I think the better sense of space, honestly, the easier it is for you when you start applying. You do not, that being said, you do not need finalized floor plans, but I think having a general sense of how much work you need to get done for your space is going to be really important. It is helpful to communicate the approximate scale, the installation approach, and what sort of technical needs that you're going to need from us. It is helpful for reviewers to understand how visitors might experience the exhibition in the space. And so do know that my selection committee, they need to be able to visualize your vision as clearly as possible. Sometimes that's done with images, and sometimes that's with words, and sometimes it's a mix of both. So the more that you have to give them to look at, the better. All right. We'll now walk through the application itself as much as we can, kind of section by section. It's pretty straightforward. If you've applied to other shows before, we're not asking too much. And then there's also a limit on words and characters. And so I think sometimes being as succinct as possible is probably for the best. Attention to detail can make a significant difference. And so make a first draft, have somebody else look at it, revisit it. I think the sooner you start, the more you can kind of do those things. Strong applications are usually organized, clear, and easy to follow. I encourage applicants to carefully review all application requirements before submitting. This is why we included the guidelines. This is why everything is online. And this is why sort of year after year, kind of if it's not broken, don't fix. We kind of have a nice little system going, but that just means that you can reach out. We can chat with artists that have shown here, or you can speak with myself. And so I don't want any surprises for you as an applicant. All right, contact information. This may seem simple, but accuracy matters. Like everything, double check your spelling. Email address is going to be very important. Make sure it's one that you check often. And then, of course, your phone number. Group applications should clearly identify the lead organizer or the curator. There always does need to be a primary contact person. And so decide amongst your group who that might be. Consistency throughout the application is helpful for review. All right, artist bio. The artist bio helps the committee better understand your artistic practice and your background. Bios do not need to sound overly academic or formal. In fact, more times than not, that sort of creates a little bit of a barrier between you and the committee. And so just gonna put your best self forward. Clarity is usually more effective than overly complicated language. In the bio section, focus on your practice, your interests, your experience. Keep the writing focused and concise. Just like everything else, proofreading is very important. And then strong writing helps the reviewers understand your work more clearly. You don't have too much space or words to work with, and so make sure every word counts. All right, your exhibition proposal, I would say probably the most important part of the application. Basically, the committee wants to understand what your exhibition is, what it's going to look like, why it matters, how it functions as an exhibition in the space. Strong proposals clearly connect ideas with visual work. It helps to explain the exhibition concept, how visitors might experience the exhibition, and how the work relates to one another. Clarity, again, is going to be extremely important. I think sometimes if you're a visual person, maybe focus a little bit more on that. Many of our committee members may be a little bit less on the visual side, and so that's where the words come in. Strong proposals are usually focused, organized, and easy to follow. That being said, avoid being overly vague. Do know that every now and again you may have the greatest sense for a project, but if you keep it vague, then we do not have a full, complete picture of what you're going to be doing. Avoid relying entirely on abstract language and explain the exhibition as clearly as possible. All right, name of the artist. This applies for the most part for the group proposals. They should clearly identify all participating artists. This is going to be important. And so if you are putting together a group show, you do need to nail down the artists that are going to be in your show. Sometimes that list gets a little bit longer after the fact, and we want to stay as true to your application as possible. If applicable, identify the curator or the lead organizer. Does need to be a point person, so that's going to be important. It is helpful for reviewers to understand the structure of the project, the curatorial direction, and how participating artists connect to the exhibition concept. All right, images and documentation. Documentation is one of the most important parts of the application. Even strong work can be difficult to evaluate if the documentation quality is poor. Pay attention to the lighting, the focus. This is the imagery that you're going to provide. Conscious about your cropping and the consistency of your work that you submit. Use strong representative images of your work. The work submitted does not need to exactly match the final exhibition work. And this is one of those things where maybe you're presenting something brand new, and so you don't have a clear example of what we're going to be looking at. And so this is where you want to be as representative as you can. The work submitted does not need to exactly match, so keep that in mind. The committee mainly wants to understand the artistic direction of your exhibition, the quality and the cohesion of all your pieces. Installation images can also be helpful for the context. I strongly encourage applicants to review images carefully before submitting. Every now and again, I will read an incredible proposal, and then I'll scratch my head when it comes to the imagery. And so it really does need to tie in some capacity. All right, the image list and your resume. The image list should be clean and easy to read, include complete information for each piece. This is the documentation that you'll be including for each of the images that you submit. Consistency and formatting is helpful. Now, keep in mind too, sometimes people get a little bit nervous about the resume or the CV. It does not necessarily need to be extensive, but it is going to give us a better sense of who you are as an artist. Emerging artists should not feel intimidated by this section, but it is going to be crucial that you do include a resume or CV, so do not leave that out. Organization and clarity are more important than both. All right, what the committee looks for. The review committee includes artists and art professionals with different perspectives and backgrounds. The applications are reviewed holistically. There is no single preferred medium or artistic style. Keep telling yourself that. The strong applications usually communicate the ideas clearly. Looking back sort of over the years, the cohesion between the written material and the images is very important. The committee also considers the visitor experience. If you've been to Finch Lane Gallery, you have a pretty good sense of who our visitor is, and that is basically anyone. And so we could have somebody that is just stumbling into our space from the park. Every now and again, we'll have somebody looking for a bathroom and they stay for 30 minutes to look at art. And so that's sort of that unexpected. We have collectors, we have artists. It is a slice of Salt Lake City. So keep that in mind. Feasibility within the gallery setting. Can it be done? There are restrictions in the space. If you go beyond that, it's going to make us hard pressed to imagine it in the space. You are trying to hang something from the ceiling and we're not able to hang things from the ceiling. It's going to make it hard for you to propose what you want. Overall, the exhibition vision, this is where we want as clear as possible. All right, we're getting there, I promise. What makes a strong application? So they're not necessarily the most complicated, so keep that in mind as well. Usually the strongest applications communicate the ideas clearly. Probably goes without saying, but the written materials and the images should feel connected to one another. So if you need another point of view before you submit it, maybe run it by a second set of eyes if you're able to. Reviewers should be able to understand the concept, the direction, and the exhibition vision. I've said it a few times before, but organization matters, so do give that plenty of time and attention. Strong documentation does matter. So as good a visuals as you're able to get, and often the best applications are simply the easiest to understand. All right, a little bit of advice. One of the best things applicants can do is keep materials clear and focused. Like I said before, proofreading is extremely important. Having another person review your material can also be super helpful, even if that is something that is a little trickier to make happen. Having another person sort of look over holistically, maybe see if they have that same vision. Basically, they'll be your sample committee member. Clarity is often more effective than overly complicated writing, and we truly want applicants to succeed and feel comfortable applying. This is a really good show or call for entries for all levels. It truly is. It's a really good opportunity for all levels. All right, common application mistakes. One common issue is poor image documentation. Strong work can be difficult to evaluate if the images are unclear. And so does that mean professional photographed work? Not necessarily. I think that our collective iPhones do a pretty amazing job these days, but do give that a little bit of extra thought. Lighting, sometimes it comes down to finding a good space for lighting. Another issue is overly vague proposals. Be careful with that. Reviewers should be able to understand the exhibition as clear as possible. Incomplete image lists or missing information can also hurt applications. Consistency throughout the application helps reviewers follow the proposal more easily. All right, a few common questions. Maybe this will lead into our discussion in just a moment. One common question is whether unfinished work can be submitted. The answer is yes. Proposed work is absolutely welcome. In progress is something that you could consider. I know as a committee member, that's one thing that I like to see. That doesn't mean I want every show or every piece to be unfinished, but in progress is actually quite beneficial. Another common question is whether students can apply. Like I said before, of course, everything from emerging to established artists, so students are welcome. Collaborative projects and group exhibitions are also welcome to apply. Previous exhibitors are welcome to apply. Again, typically I do have a number in my head. If you showed within the last couple of years, we can only choose a dozen shows over the course of the year, and so I take that into account if you were to show last year or the year before. But there is no harm applying again. Applicants may submit multiple proposals. This is something that comes up occasionally. However, keep in mind that each proposal should feel absolutely distinct and thoughtfully developed. I would probably spend most of your time putting together just a single application. Another common question is what happens if the exhibition evolves after the submission? And this is completely normal. Some of you, if you get selected, it'll be upwards to a year or more from the point that you know to the exhibition time itself. It just means that you were going to keep me in the loop as the gallery director, and we're going to stay as true to your original statement as possible. The committee mainly wants enough information to understand the overall exhibition direction. All right, how close are we getting? We are almost there. Quick reminder on the application deadline. Again, for those of you that are watching or listening, thank you for taking the time to join us here today. I hope this session has helped clarify the application process, and hopefully we'll have a few minutes to discuss any questions that you might have. The date that you want to keep in mind is going to be Sunday, June 21st, 11:59 p.m. That's Sunday night before midnight. I do look forward to reviewing the proposals. It's my favorite thing to do each year. It recharges my batteries. It shows me what artists are working on. I get extremely excited, so get me really excited. All right, so let me kind of go through just a couple more questions. These are just some of our more common ones that I get, and then I'll sort of open it up. We'll pull up the website as well. Strong exhibition proposal. Okay, so I know seems pretty broad, but I'm gonna say again, clarity, cohesion, strong communication of ideas. Put your vision into our heads. Sort of easier said than done, but that is what we're looking for. How important is exhibition history? I get that question a lot. Exhibition history can provide context, but emerging artists are absolutely encouraged to apply. So if your CV is short, but you have an amazing idea and you can pull off your project, I get very excited about that as well. What if my work spans multiple media? I love that. Interdisciplinary work is welcome. Installation images helpful. Of course they are. The more that we can see, the more that we can experience, the more we can get in your head, the better. I say that, and then I think of some artists, and I don't know how deep I wanted to get into their heads, but I think you know what I mean. Okay, one last reminder of my name and my email. These are easy to find on our website. If you follow Salt Lake City Arts Council, anything tied with Finch Lane Gallery or Visual Arts Program, you'll see my name. But email is the best way to get hold of me. I'm often away from the desk, and so if you call the phone number, I can still get back to you. But shoot me an email. Give me a little bit of time, a couple of days to get back to you. Particularly once we get a little bit closer to the deadline, it gets a little bit tougher to get back to you immediately. But I am easy to talk to. All right, I am going to stop sharing, and so we can see each other face to face. All right, this is me. And I see a few more names up there, which is amazing. Okay, so let's open this up, and I am more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. If you want to put it in print, you can email your questions to me. You can drop it in the notes over there. If you are comfortable, I'd say let's just chat. Who is first? Okay, so I'm going to read a couple of the questions. Let's start with there. That's a good safe place. And so, is it Irie, is it possible to provide any samples of successful applications? I haven't done that specifically, but you know what I'll do? Because I don't want to put that necessarily in the public right now, but I would love to sort of go into the specifics, like as much like one-on-one with you as I can. That would be totally fine. But that being said, that's not a bad idea. I think sometimes having something to look at, then you find yourself sort of comparing and a little bit more than you kind of want to. But that being said, there's no bad questions. And so I made note of that, and I'm going to reach back to you. You make sure and follow with me. So I want to make sure that you're comfortable with the application process. I really just want to read yours. You're not going to mess up an application unless you leave. Like if you just don't follow the instructions. This is a really approachable application, and at least that's my goal. And if you're finding that it's not, then those are the conversations we need to have. All right, Kirsten, are you looking for full takeover exhibitions only, or will you have group shows throughout the year as well? And we don't get selected for an exhibition. Is there an option to be selected for a group show? Okay, great question. The way that we do things, it is essentially you will be putting together the group show. And so because we only have so many slots, like we don't have that many, I don't pick and choose at the end. And so I am enabling you as a curator, as an exhibitor, to really hold on to the show and make it your own, if that makes any sense. And so that is a really good question, but that's not something that we do right now as far as kind of piecing together bits and pieces. And by bits and pieces, I mean kind of I really want this artist, but I only, have so many slots available. And so to answer your question, no, we do not. But That being said, um, it's not a idea. Um, are there image size requirements? As clear as you can under the parameters. Um, I think that I do have some pixel sizes in the application if you want to review that. I do believe that it's a little bit easier these days to, like, I remember back in the day where the files were just absolutely ginormous, and so I think that you can give us a pretty good sense on high resolution with and still stay under that line. Okay, so here we go. Is there a place where the dimensions for the two spaces is listed? There is, I believe I have that online, but that being said, and this is Ucharza, shoot me an email and I will send you. In fact, this applies to anybody. Like I said, I will interact with every one of you by email if I need to. I will send you the floor plans. Um, that being said, yeah, if you want to be that specific at this point, I love it. That's fantastic. And so shoot me an email and I'll send you a floor plan. All right, what do we have next? Do you have any advice for emerging artists on creating a CV or resume that is most helpful for the reviewers and their assessment? Keep it as a resume, if that's the closest that we're getting on that one. Is that Roseanne? Where's Roseanne? Okay, I was going to say hi to you, but you are. Don't see your video. That's totally fine. Um, Basic education, work, anything that kind of gives us a little bit, of a connection between more than anything. Sometimes it's CV. Have you shown other places? That's kind of fun to see, if you have experience with this and that mostly applies to proposals that for feasibility might be an issue or just the sheer volume of work that you're proposing. If you are overly, let's just ambitious, but you've had shows where you've pulled it off before, it's just a good place to look. But honestly, if you keep it as close to just a simple resume as possible, just work, education, that type of thing, even some interests on there, that works too. So really don't overthink that too much. If it's light on the art side of things, then just kind of give us a sense of who you are outside of that. You may have provided this. Who comprises the committee? The names themselves will be chosen. Basically, it's board members. I usually try to get one or two of community arts leaders, artists that have shown here before. Every now and again, I'll have another sort of nonprofit arts member. It really does vary. Um, Artists are really important to me, and so I do try to have at least a few artists that have shown at the Finch Lane Gallery before. Just like everything, a real representation, and I don't know exactly what that's going to look like this year, but I am always so stoked about the committees I put together. All right, so what else do we have? How many artists are available? Okay, so you're going to find when you are looking through the dates that you'll see 6 different 6-week slots, and so those are the 6 different choices we have. I am very open that we are having some work done at the art barn, and hopefully we're all collectively as a community excited that community still wants to put money into the art barn. So I'm like super stoked. But it also means that there might be just a little bit of wiggle room as far as the construction process goes. And so that first slot is the one where I'll be honest, if I see I've given myself enough room for the construction that we're going to get done. I don't see that as an issue. But that being said, that could be a little bit shorter window. Um, but if it's affecting that artist too much, what I'll do is you'll still, whoever that might be, might just show at the beginning of 28 or something. I have to choose dates and move forward. But that's not something I'm worried about. But I just want to make sure and put it out there. So 6 slots is basically, so I can do 12 shows. And so I can do 12 solo shows or group shows. So if you think that we have 2 spaces, concurrent spaces, that means we get 12 shows. Since you take emerging artists frequently, you help curate the work for the final show after the artist has been selected, or is it up to the artist? I love that question, and that is entirely up to the artist. And so I empower the artist slash curator to take as much ownership of their exhibition as possible. It is an incredible opportunity to do that. But that being said, um, me and my team, incredible resources as well. And so it could be a mix of either one. At the end of the day, I love artists that do take, like I said, kind of ownership of their space. And that could be in general layout, as far as like hanging the show, that's something we take care of on our side. And so I do have artists occasionally that more or less just sort of drop off the work and they say, all right, I'll see you at the opening. And we can take care of that as well. And so that is a great question. And there's no right answer there. We can handle both. You've given a lot of great information to answer a lot of my questions, but attempting a group show for the first time, any common failings for group applications? I think it's just going to be most important to have a point person, right? And so basically they'll be the one that is, wrangling the cats. I've worked with artists for a very long time, and so I love working with artists, but that can be really tricky when it comes to deadlines, etc. And so probably keeping it under control, not waiting to the last minute, and then keeping me in the loop on any of the steps, any of the unforeseen steps that might come along the way. But just probably not biting off too much as well. And that's one of the things that, because I only have so many slots over the course of the year, I love group shows. I absolutely love group shows because then I can show more artists, right? And so I also I want to see a cohesive show in each of my gallery spaces as well. And so I don't want just sort of a best of. And so that's one of the things every now and then with a group show, it still has to be either a theme or a style or a medium, or it's still going to be a cohesive proposal that you have for us. And so every now and again, if you're just all ceramic artists, that's not quite enough, right? And so I want something a little bit more than, but that's probably as far as families go. It's just deadlines. There are going to be responsibilities on the artist side that they have to produce on on a timeline. There's a contract. There's all those sort of lovely things, and so basically knowing that you can rely on your artists is going to be important as well. But certainly don't be afraid of group show. I think they're fantastic, and it's a really, really good opportunity here to maybe try one for the first time if you've never done that before. But then also using each of the artists to all chip in. I love that as well. It might be one point person, but you can really learn from each other. Hanging requirements for the frames, wired frames. That being said, okay, so our shows are 6 weeks, and so I have to feel confident that the work is safe on the walls for you, for me, for the safety of our guests. And so more than anything, I like the idea of a wired frame for sure. The little sawtooth hook's probably not going to cut it necessarily. Little rings are always good. I don't necessarily have an answer for each of the pieces, but that's something you can definitely reach out to me about. But you definitely do have to. That's a step that we do have. These are not, unless you're selling me on the idea of using T-pins on all of your work, right? I do want everything that's able to hang. But there's no real right answer other than the little sawtooth hang. That doesn't usually work for us. If there's an audio component, is that okay? Of course, absolutely. Yeah, you do want to take into consideration the spaces themselves. If you've been into our space before, the West Gallery, it's where the sliding doors are. It's a little bit more isolated over there. And so sometimes that works better to control sound or projection if you're using projectors or something like that. And so maybe envision that space if you're thinking through that. But I have, which means that the artist would have access to a couple big screen televisions that we can mount on the wall. We have a couple projectors that work as well. I love projected work, and the audio is fun too. My office is upstairs, so you can make as much noise as you want to downstairs. It's fine. I had like gong. There's like a series of gongs. It was yeah, for the desks downstairs. I don't know what their thoughts were, but I love sound. It's totally fun. Okay, that was amazing. That was a whole great group of questions. Thanks for taking the time to do that. Okay, so who wants to unmute and ask? Anything we did not touch on? I want you to all feel comfortable. Has anybody started their applications yet? Or are you just starting to kind of look? You have loads of time. Okay. If you haven't yet, get familiar with like Submittable. It's just an online platform. It's really easy to sign up for. Sometimes that's a good place to start, is just to kind of start poking around a little bit. You can always submit later on. All right. See more muted. I was going to take us to the website. I'll be honest, saltlakearts.org. If you have you all visited our website? I hope you have. Okay. If you haven't, check us out. And so let's see, give me one second. I want to respect everyone's time as well. Did I forget? All right, I'm back. What happened? Anyway, sorry about that, everyone. We're probably a good place. It's probably a good place to sort of call it. I think the biggest and the best thing you can do is reach out to me if you do have any questions. I want to keep this as approachable as possible. It's a really good opportunity to, we can set up a time to chat in person if you'd like. I would say that I have been in my position for about 4 years now, and I'm getting more applications each year. And so take that information as you please. That means it's maybe getting a little bit more competitive, which is always good, but it also means that this is a very special place. And so I think the word is definitely out. I haven't been here before. There's a lot of history. The Art Barn has been around since 1933 in some capacity. We've been showing work basically that entire time. And so there's a lot of history in this place. And so it it is on a lot of sort of bucket lists. And so, but that being said, we have maintained sort of our mission to show all artists. Anybody? All right, I still see a bunch of mutes. If you need me, I'm available to you. Again, this is Todd Oberndorfer. If you haven't gotten a shot of my email, make sure to do that. Otherwise, good luck with your applications. And I can't wait to read every one of them. All right. Thanks so much for taking the time for me.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.